Paula. This is Jay and Charles from Greenville, Tennessee, and I am going to show you Ricky Bobby's chicken sausage pasta. Now there's a little story behind this one. It was actually not my recipe. My 12-year-old son, whose name is Ricky, is the one that came up with this, the original concept. And he brought it to me right after you had started the contest and I had found the website. And we were sitting in the kitchen, and he was playing around with the stove, and he came running over and he said, "Mom, I've got my entry for the Real Women of Philadelphia, but you're going to have to enter it for me because I'm not 18. Of course, I got tickled, and I said, "Well, what about the whole women part?" He was like, you know. So I took his recipe, and I made a couple changes, but not very much. Because I got to tell you, Ricky is a really good cook, and you're going to like this one. Now, again, I'm a little ahead of you. I did some of the work before we got on camera. But what we're going to start out with is chicken sausage, and this is the sweet apple kind. And all I did is stick it in a pan with some olive oil and a little bit of butter and brown it off some. And then I threw in the pan a red onion that I had chopped up. And to this, I'm going to add 2-3 cloves of garlic. And this just goes in the pot. This was actually an awesome concept. Ricky, funny enough, for being 12 and being a boy, is an awesome cook. But he's been cooking pretty much all of his life. And a lot of that was my fault. He grew up with Food Network because I had it on all the time when he was a baby. But then in 2004, Ricky was diagnosed with leukemia. And he's doing fine now, full remission, and he's taller than I am. But his Make-A-Wish trip that year was to go to Food Network. And we got to be on one of the Emeril Lagasse shows. We were on the bread episode from that year. So, in a nutshell, Ricky was inspired for life. I mean, not only did he like cooking, but that was probably one of those seminal events that set his path. And all I've really been able to do is kind of guide him a little bit because he'll get in the kitchen and take off. And this is a great example of what he does. Okay, so we've got our garlic. And I didn't mince it up too fine. You don't want it to burn, and you don't want it to get that kind of funky, bitter garlic thing going. You just want to sweat it out a little bit and let the fragrance go. Alright? So, over here we've got the rest of our mise en place. I like saying that. You know, it just means getting your act together in the kitchen. So, over here we've got a little bit of white wine. I use Chardonnay all the time just to deglaze the pan. And if you don't want to use it, go ahead and use chicken broth. That's not a problem at all. So it just goes right in there. And we're going to use this to get all that loveliness up off the bottom. That's the fond. And we are fond of it because it makes everything taste so good. And then our next step, we are going to toss in our Philadelphia cream cheese. And I brought this one to room temperature. I love how fast this dish comes together. And you know what's kind of funny about when you teach your kids how to cook, I mean, I'm sure you know about this one. When you teach your kids how to cook, a lot of times they don't know what the rules are, and so they freely break them. As much as I would like to strangle them when they do it too often and make the big messes, they actually have come up with some pretty amazing dishes on their own. Especially Ricky, who's been cooking on his own for quite a while. And my daughter, Lance, who's 9, has also started experimenting. Now, she's very much into colored food at the moment. So we do have quite a few things that are rather vibrant in color. Something very bright blue was on the counter this morning. Okay, so the cream cheese has melted and become gooey and wonderful. And now back here, I've got my timer about to go off on about 1 pound of Rotini pasta. It's been here about 10 minutes in a very heavily salted water. So I'm going to turn that off, bring the heat down, and let it just sit until I'm ready for it. Okay, now, into our pan here, we've got about a cup of half and half. I love to use half and half. I'm only going to put about half of that in here, however, until I see how tight my sauce is going to be. I really don't want to make it too watery. Let's get all the cream cheese in there. There we go. I love, love, love not only the flavors in this dish, which are pretty awesome, but the fact that it was my boy that came up with it. Now, a couple additions that Ricky didn't have in his, but I'm the mom and I got to do the whole veggie thing. And these just seem to work with the flavors. I have just a handful, I'd say that's about a cup of the little grape or cherry tomatoes that I've diced, or not diced, I've cut them in half, sliced. And then I have about a cup of the green peas. And I love putting those two items in a creamy pasta. I love how it looks. Alright, almost done. Couple other things we want to do. Fresh nutmeg. And I love... okay, that's too much. I love a little bit of nutmeg and a cream sauce, but you don't want to put the whole thing in there. And actually, if I don't have fresh or I can't get fresh, I'd rather just leave it out. There's just such an amazing difference when you grate it fresh. And you can quickly go overboard with it. A good pinch of salt and a good bit of pepper. This one was Ricky's addition. I'm going to put in there, I'd say about half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And work that all together. And while that's just bringing itself together, the last little bit, in goes the chicken sausage. And we're going to drain off our pasta. I love my pasta pot. Love it, because I've got all that really wonderful salty, starchy pasta water that if I need, here we go. Oh, I lost a couple. I'm a horrible mess most of the time in the kitchen. But if I need that pasta water, pop them back in there. To loosen up my sauce, I've got it. It's already there. Okay, so at this point, super easy. All you're doing is tossing so that those rotini noodles can grab all of that. Is my pot in the way? My cameraman is trying to give me signals. Can grab all of that wonderful sauce. There we go. Oh, I love it. You really don't even want to cook your veggies. That fresh, wonderful, crisp bite of just the tomato and the peas is out of this world. And it's beautiful. There we go. That's how we want it to look. Okay, we're coming over here. We're going to put it on the plate. Now, other than about 10 minutes of prep time and my cranky stove so that I had to wait on my pasta water to come to a boil, this dish goes together in absolutely no time. And I want some of the pretty stuff on top. Just like that. I gotta say, my boy rocks. A little fresh parsley over the top. And that is my boy Ricky Bobby's chicken sausage rotini. I love it. And I'm proud of that.